Because of the economic situation, look at what the media is saying about quiet quitting these days. Right after basically bringing this to the public and making the term popular, now they're changing their mind. Rest in peace, quiet quitting. Layoff fears have workers back to the grind. That's why when I quiet quit, I do it at a level of where I'm still the best performer in my department. One of the first documented cases of quiet quitting was a recruiter I'd called Justin. Deep into the coronavirus pandemic, after working 10 to 12-hour days much of his career, Justin decided to dial it back at his job. When I spoke with him in February, he had whittled his work week down to 40 hours. In the ensuing months, he went even further, working as little as 30. Every week, he worked a little bit less, freeing him up to spend more time with his wife and their newborn baby. Yep, we covered that. And this might even be the same author that did the story we covered initially about quiet quitting. So it was Justin, in fact, who helped spark the national debate that's been raging over quiet quitting. After speaking with him and other recovering overachievers, I wrote about how hustle culture, thanks to the job security granted by a roaring economy, was giving way to coasting culture. So when popular career coach on TikTok riffed on my story, the phrase quiet quitting became something of a new cultural dividing line. You either loved the Justins of the world for striking reasonable work-life balance or condemned them as slackers and cheats. So the suckers that are being taken advantage of and who work tirelessly for no reward, they're jealous of those who get more stuff for less work. That's basically what this is. But by the time the U.S. was furiously debating over this new approach to work, Justin was already shifting gears again. Over summer, as the economy began to slow, he noticed his clients were scaling back their hiring plans. They're quiet quitting too. The performance reviews seemed to be getting tougher. Some of his colleagues were let go. It made me nervous, he told me. It hit me that I'm the only one who works in my family, so I decided to play it a little more safe. Today, Justin, the OG quiet quitter, is back to going above and beyond. He's working 50 hours a week. That didn't take too long. Wow. From poster child of the movement to maybe this wasn't a good idea. I mean, I can't say much because if it wasn't for the brand and economy, I'd probably have left my job already so I can focus on making important things. But it's too risky to try that now. At the moment, the job market is still strong, but job openings down 15% since March's record high. It's clear that the frenzy of great resignation is beginning to moderate. After a year of scrambling to accommodate their restless employees, employers are regaining the upper hand. Yeah, that's something I've said too, actually. I've mentioned this myself, that enjoy having all this power while it lasts, because it will eventually shift the other way. So take full advantage of it while you have the advantage. The workers are sensing the shift in the mounting headlines and about company layoffs. Yeah, Twitter. Twitter's about to have dump a lot of useless bloat on the market. The budget cuts are limiting their raises and the heightened scrutiny of their productivity. The smart ones like Justin are adjusting their behavior accordingly. Reading the tea leaves, we could be in for a difficult current year plus one. Brian Creeley, a career coach who coined the term quiet quitting, told me, I wouldn't just quiet quit and kick your feet up and go, okay, I'm good. It's not the best time to scale back if you have no intention of leaving your company. Yeah, see, that's another big if. If you plan on leaving that company anyway, it doesn't really matter that much. It's not going to be that big of a deal. Compelled to work harder. Now, this is just nature, by the way. Yeah, everyone's fine being lazy until they're about to starve, and then, okay, it's time to work to get some food. So it's not surprising that coasting culture turns out to be sensitive to the fluctuations of the labor market, given that its predecessor, hustle culture, was born in an age of economic insecurity. Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, so if you come up in an era where things are tight, yeah, you have to go above and beyond to get attention. The rise of globalization, yeah, big mistake, and the wave of mergers and acquisitions led to a spate of white-collar layoffs. The post-war promise of stable lifetime employment was over, thanks to the boomers. Because of this risk, people felt compelled to work hard and become indispensable, said Mary Blair Loy, a professor of sociology at the University of California at San Diego, who has spent her career documenting what she calls the work devotion schema. When times are tough and there's way more people competing for fewer jobs, oh yeah, you need to do something to make yourself stand out. So millennials like me who graduated into the Great Recession devote ourselves to our jobs even more fiercely. I call bullshit on that. That might be true for you individually, but I have not seen this attitude from my fellow millennials. They're still demanding handouts. We were grateful to have jobs at all. Yeah, again, I don't see that either. Maybe you, even if we are underpaid and overqualified to do them. Now, what do you mean by overqualified, though? Because I've seen what's basically, people who got useless, like grievance studies degrees, bitching that they're overqualified to work at Burger King. Yeah, no. You're exactly where you need to be. We worked nights, weekends to make sure our bosses didn't swap us out with many, many millions who stood in the sidelines. Yeah, and this is why, if you can, try to get a job in a field that is very specialized and requires a lot of training. Because it might be difficult to get in because it obviously requires a lot of training and is highly specialized. But once you're in, it's very hard to get rid of you. Yeah, that's a good position to be in. So even worse, we convinced ourselves we wanted to overwork, whether we told away long hours, not of necessity, but passion. We were working ourselves to death because we were changing the world. Ain't that the truth? All these gullible idiots, like, oh, well, look, you're doing this for the greater good, guys. Oh, a 4-year degree in gender studies and still underqualified for Burger King. As someone who used to work at Burger King, I agree. I wouldn't trust a gender studies degree holder. So it took something as big as a pandemic to shake us out of that mindset and to imagine how our lives might change if we stopped putting work at the center of them. But it was the red hot job market that emerged in the spring of current year -1 that really gave workers the chance to live out their liberating new philosophy. Just desperate to attract job candidates and retain their existing staff, companies were suddenly crowing about work-life balance and showering employees with paid time off and flexible work schedules. You look burned out, Susan. Take a mental health day. Man, why can't I get some of those? I could use 5 of those a week. The companies are also hanging on to every employee, no matter how bad they were at their jobs. Not anymore. At the end of current year -1, HR managers reported they were going to manage out fewer than 2% of low performance compared to the usual 5%. The national layoff rate plunged a 2-decade low. When I spoke with Justin in February, he exuded the confidence that many employers were feeling about their job security. So companies have a vice grip on even their moderately good employees, he told me. I was like, look, they're not going to fire me. It would take them months to find someone new and train them up. My lessons productivity is better than zero productivity. Employers were doing the math, and it added up to less work for the same pay. That was true back then, yes. Things today look very different. For starters, consider what's going on at a company formerly known as Fakebook. As my colleague Callie Hayes reported, executives at Fakebook have instructed managers to bucket 15% of their employees as needs improvement, HR speak for shape up or ship out. Yeah, we talked about this too, the performance improvement plan, which is basically you're given a few months warning you're about to be laid off. CEO Mark Kuckerborg informed his staff that he would be turning up the heat on performance goals to shed employees who couldn't meet those standards. Some of you might decide this is the place that this place isn't for you, he said. That self-selection is okay with me. In a telling observation, one employee noted that Fakebook's moves amounted to quiet layoffs. Well, look at it this way, too. He is forcing a large chunk of his employees to work on that waste of money known as his metaverse. No one except for him likes that thing. Everyone that's working on it knows it's going to fail. They know it's a dumpster fire. People don't want this. And yet they need to give 110% to it or they'll get fired, knowing it's just going to be shut down as if it was a Google product. The same pattern is playing out elsewhere in the tech industry. Over the summer, managers at Snap were told to put at least 10% of their workers on performance improvement. You're fired. A few weeks later, a company cut its full-time workforce by 20%. Damn. They did say at least 10%, huh? At Google, CEO Sundar Pichai complaining that the company has become slower and as its headcount has grown. No shit! The more bloated a company gets, the slower and more expensive it is? Who could have figured that out? Declared he wanted to increase efficiency by 20%. At Oracle, which let go of hundreds of employees in August, and again this month, employees worry more cuts are coming. They are. Oh, and just wait until all those Twitter parasites are flooding the market. I mean, decent companies wouldn't hire them anyway, but still. So nationwide, the employment rate remains 3.5%, matching its lowest level since 1969. Probably because they don't count people who aren't looking anymore. But that won't last. The Federal Reserve expects unemployment to climb 4.4% by the end of next year. And Bloomberg's economists now project a 100% probability the country will face a recession within the next 12 months. You want to know why they have a 100% probability for that? Because we're already in a fucking recession. We have had 2 quarters of negative GDP growth. We're in a recession already. They just keep changing the definition of it because Brandon doesn't want the Brandon recession label stuck to him. So yeah, of course, 100% probability that we will face the recession that we're already in within a year. Congratulations. So gone are the days of sky-high salary offers from desperate employers. Sensing that they have the upper hand, the companies are cracking down on remote work. Oh, yeah, and I know as much as I am for remote work, if the job market is in the employer's favor, you might not be able to find another one. They're also cutting travel budgets. That's a good thing for me. Yeah, the last thing I'd want to do is travel for work. Scaling back year-end parties. Yeah, I never liked those much anyway, and quietly sunsetting mental health days they've been lavishing on employees. Not the kind of environment, in other words, in which you want to be seen as giving less than 1,000%, unless you have backup plans ready to go, in which case you could surprise them. So, but even as the Great Resignation turns into a plain old resignation, I don't think hustle culture is ever coming back. That's a good thing. America's addiction to overwork wasn't just about the hours we put into our jobs. It was about looking at to our careers to provide our lives with meaning and define our identities. Freed temporarily from the shackles of hustle culture, millions of Americans have glimpsed a new way of ordering their lives. I don't think that people can forget this reevaluation they've done. Jessica Kriegel, chief scientist of workplace culture and consultancy culture partners, told me we're never going back to pre-pandemic norms until all of society collapses anyway. Then it might happen. Now, imagine if all these morons, like these psychos on Twitter, if they realized they could get off Twitter and be happier. That's certainly true for Justin. Even though he's back to working 50 hours, the way he thinks about his job has permanently changed. He no longer talks about work when he sees his friends. He stopped obsessing over his company's internal rankings to make sure he's at the top. He laughs about old Justin, who liked to boast about how hard he worked and how busy he was. New Justin may be devoting more hours to his employer, but he's no longer relinquishing his soul. I think that's an improvement. Very well played. So I learned that too much of my identity in my life is wrapped up in work. He told me, this is a good point to learn, especially if you're a man, because men in particular, they tie themselves to their jobs. Yeah, their whole identity is tied up in what they do to make money. Even if I'm working more hours again, I don't feel that way anymore. It's a relief to have learned these lessons, to have had that wake up call. Yeah, eventually you'll become Wally. You just got to do it sooner rather than later for your own sanity. Yeah, as soon as the economy bounces back, Justin is determined to return to coasting mode. He doesn't like working 50-hour weeks. He knows he's missing out on the moments he used to have with his wife and daughter. The mornings together, the swim classes, late afternoon strolls. For him, the economic recovery can't come soon enough. I feel your pain, man. I'm the same way.